How to be calm and relaxed all the time. By the time you're done watching this video, you'll know how to maintain a state of relative calm. I'll share the philosophy of the master who I've studied under for over 20 years. You'll gain perspective on how to create a daily routine that creates calm. It's an active decision. And then lastly, I'm going to give you one piece of advice that most people are too scared to tell you. Let's get started. I'm a recovering type A who's typically fairly calm even in high stress situations. I've studied under the tutelage of many masters who have truly mastered calm. In fact, I mentioned another video about stress on how I've been going to the Chung Tai Zen Center studying under Zen masters for years. But for the purpose of this video, the master who I've studied under for over 20 years is actually my husband. I just might be married to the most calm human in the history of the universe, y'all. And I've learned a few things watching him, and I ask a lot of questions along the way because he also has a few equally calm friends. And so when I ask them questions on how they maintain their relative calm and match that to what I've learned from people that actually teach meditation or who teach things like Buddhist principles or other different religious principles around calm, I think I have a few jewels to share with you. Now, my husband's a little sarcastic and definitely brilliant, but I think two of his major life philosophies are to mind your own business. And when I say mind your own business, it doesn't mean we don't care about other people, but oftentimes some of the stress that we feel is because we're in other people's business. There's an incredible master named Byron Katie. She's an author of several books where she talks about how we create stress when we're in the wrong business. And so there's, in her words, God's business, their business, and your business. Now we can adapt that to say maybe the universe's business. Those are the things that are just outside of anyone's control. Their business, meaning it's really other people's business and our business. So when we're in other people's business, it creates stress and problems, whereas if we just mind our own business, we don't have that same stress and problems. Now that doesn't mean that we can't help other people. Sometimes you and I are compelled and something says, you know what? We should help someone. And that's very different than feeling obligated or encouraging codependency. These are very different things. But from time to time, I'm sure that you've seen people, maybe they've been through a flood or some type of horrible situation, and something in you says, oh, I'm supposed to help that person. That's fine. You're still in your business because you've been directed to help them. That's very different than being controlling where you feel a need to get into other people's business. And so this is important when we think about the future. Again, I'm a futurist, so I've studied foresight, because oftentimes we stress about other circumstances that are outside of our control. We want to make sure that we're making strategic decisions about the future, but we also have to understand that other people have free will and that there are some things that are outside of our control. The best we can do is not try to change the things outside of our control, but to plan for them and work around them. So again, CJ, my husband, one of his tips would probably be to mind your own business. And now we understand how. So again, CJ is a huge believer in minding your own business. Number two, and this is something that I have a hard time with. Let me know in the comments after I say what this is if you have a hard time with this too. My husband is a complete believer that you do not argue with fools. And when I say fools, I'm not being mean. I'm not saying people that we disagree with, but we all know people who are foolish when it comes to particular subjects. And they insist on projecting their viewpoints on others when they don't know what they're talking about, or they don't have the background or the data or the research to back up their statements. My husband is one of those people where someone can come up to him and say the most ridiculous thing, and my husband will say, okay, and walk away. Not okay in agreement, but just acknowledging, I heard that, and he'll leave. That's another thing that we can do that causes less stress. I'm going to share this with you. That's not naturally who I am. I'm one of those people that's like, that is not a true fact. We must battle it. And I will share with you 99% of the time, it doesn't go well for me when I try to argue a point in that way. So sometimes it's just a matter of simply not arguing with fools. Now, how do we translate this into the workplace? How do we translate this into the home? I think you can actually see a direct translation. There are times where silence is golden. There's times where being more strategic in what we're doing speaks louder than us having these conversations. Sometimes we have to prepare against other people's actions. That comes with minding your own business. So maybe there's someone in your home that's making poor decisions that you know will have a negative impact on the future. You may or may not be able to manipulate their actions. It depends on how open they are. But what you can do is prepare yourself and set your boundaries for how you're going to react in the future to minimize damage to yourself or to the others who maybe more innocently were dragged into the situation. The same thing happens in a workplace as well. Sometimes we're not only preparing against the future, but other people's bad actions that will influence the future. Let's talk about creating a daily routine that promotes calm. One of the first things I do when I wake up is I meditate. I know my dad does too, quite a few of my friends do, but it's a great way to just kind of center in what your goals are for the day. Another thing you can do is meditate during any point in the day. So maybe you need a midday meditation to reset yourself. Or maybe you're going into a stressful meeting and maybe on your own calendar, you just schedule 5 minutes afterwards to meditate. I don't care if it's in the break room, at your desk, or in the restroom, wherever it is, having those moments of meditation and calm, that can help you stay calm throughout the day, even when stressful situations happen. Another thing we can do to maintain a state of calm is to exercise. We know that exercise releases positive endorphins in our bodies, and so when it comes to having a calm demeanor, oftentimes exercise not only gives us a nice dosage of those happy-making chemicals in our bodies, but in addition to that, spending that energy oftentimes means we have less nervous energy stored up. So even when we're encountering things that may not be what we want, we're usually in a calmer state if we're having regular exercise. Another thing you may want to consider is a gratitude activity. I especially love doing this with children when they're a little upset, but maybe a little bit older children. When you start writing down all the things that you're grateful for and physically writing, like on a sheet of paper, having them write down, I am grateful for my breath. I'm grateful that I can see. I'm grateful that I have friends, or that, and again, no one's life is perfect, but writing out all the things we're grateful for oftentimes puts us in a more calm state because it makes us focus on what we do have and what is going right. Good nutrition is essential to maintaining calm. Now, all of our bodies are different, and I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not here to tell you what you should do for your body. Finding a good nutritionist that understands what your unique body needs are is probably the key here. But understanding, like for me, when I have alcohol or sugar or certain different foods, my mood is very different than when I don't have those things. So one of the things that those that are close to me know, that every single year at the beginning of the year, I do a cleanse for a minimum of 14 days. During that cleanse, I eat raw vegan. Now, I'm already a vegetarian, but I'm a vegetarian who loves cheese and dairy, so I'm not a vegan typically. But at the beginning of the year, I'm raw vegan. What that means is I'm not eating any kind of processed foods. I don't eat meat anyways. I'm not doing any processed sugar. I'm not doing any alcohol. So it's very much, raw vegetables, fruits, some soaked legumes, different things that I can eat, nuts, things like that. And I'm surviving off of that for about 14 days. I'm never hungry. I eat as much as I'd like, but that's what I'm eating. And I drink tons and tons of water. And without fail, and I've been doing this now for probably about 8 years, when I come off of that cleanse, my thinking is so clear, my thoughts. Most of my best business ideas that have been the most financially rewarding have resulted at the end of that cleanse every single year. And in fact, you might find this interesting, in 2020, when things were kind of going a little wild, I extended that cleanse. Something was just telling me, starting in January, we start hearing buzzes about this whole flu that we're hearing about, and it's happening in Asia. Something in me said, you know what, just keep doing your cleanse. I did my cleanse for over 300 days in 2020. And as a result of it, I maintained a level of calm unlike anyone I know in 2020. I was eating as much as I want. Again, I wasn't hungry, but just what I was putting in my body, it just promoted calm. And as soon as I started eating regularly again at the end of those 300 days, I immediately noticed that I reacted to things differently. So that's my body. I'm not suggesting that you do a raw vegan cleanse or anything like that, but talk to your nutritionist and see if you can figure out what balance of food items would best serve you in maintaining a sense of calm. And then we have just 2 more points. Now, of course, in this video, we're talking about maintaining a state of calm, but please understand it's nearly impossible to be calm all of the time. We're not meant to be calm all the time. That's why we have different emotions. But I do think that calm can be our default, where we're spending most of the time there. And so the goal should never be not to have emotions. We can be elated, we can be angry, we can be sad, we can be upset, we can be all these different things. But for the most part, in most situations, we want our baseline to be calm. The last tool I want to give you is the suggestion to identify things that will immediately bring you to your calm place. That could be an animal, that can be a picture of someone you love, that can be a song that takes you back to a point in time, it could be a physical place. Whatever that is, recognize what brings you back to calm so that whenever you need it, you can leverage it and get back to where you need to be. At the beginning of this video, we talked about how calm influences our ability to plan for the future. If we're overly excited or if we're planning from a place of fear or anxiety, we're going to miss things and we're not going to be strategic. Speaking of planning for the future, you're going to notice in the description of this video, there's a link to download a Future Ready Playbook. This playbook is chock full of all kinds of activities that will help you be more strategic in planning for the future. Whether we're talking about your personal goals, your career goals, or if you own a business, your business goals as well. Go ahead, download it right now.